here, I'm going to admit them all.
Oh, wow. Y'all in. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first ever virtual back to school night. I know that this is not how we all imagined this school year would start, but here we are, ready to make the best of it. So I have a lot of information for you tonight. I am going to share some slides in just a couple of minutes. And just so you know, there are links embedded in the slides, and I will be posting the entire slide deck on our website when I upload the video as well, which is also being recorded, so that you can reference this information later. It's essentially going to be our virtual handbook for distance learning. So it's a document that will be updated regularly and available on our website. So when you're looking for different kinds of resources, I recommend that you check this one out on the website, and I'll be sure to share it with you in the near future so that you can see it. So welcome to everybody. I know you're still trickling in from the waiting room. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. We will get started on all of things we need to learn about the upcoming school year. So here we are, back to school 2020. You might notice that there is a COVID germ on our slides this year instead of the heart from last year. And that's not because we are making light of the pandemic and the impact it's had on so many people in our community and around the world. But because as a staff, we are really focusing on trying to accept our circumstances right now. So to be really aware that things are not how we would like for them to be. And having the COVID germs on our slides is a little reminder to all of us tonight that this is all really far outside of our control. And so really accepting our circumstances and working our very best for your kids is what our staff is going to be focused on this year. And so I thought I'd share that sentiment with all of you tonight. Let's see. So what's new this school year? Well, distance learning. It's not totally new, right? Because we did it in the spring. However, many of us have really come to the understanding that what we did in the spring was crisis learning. We did the very best we could with the resources that we had available and the information we had available at the time. But now we have been able to really think this through and prepare. And so in my opinion, this distance learning that we are starting on Thursday is very different than what we did in the spring. Also, stronger parent-teacher partnerships for student success. It's really important now, always, but now more than ever, that we are working in partnership with each other. So as you'll see, as we go through the information tonight, there are going to be opportunities and resources provided to you so that we can really partner with parents as we work toward student success in distance learning. One of those areas of support is increased grade level alignment. All of our teachers have been working diligently over the last several weeks to put together grade level weekly learning plans that will be similar across all classrooms so that you're able to work with other families and children outside of your classroom. Our campus is closed to visitors, so that's new. It's very strange for all of us to be here without any students. In fact, our fire alarm went off today, and it was just a little fluke, but we had a sort of a fire drill with just staff, and it was odd to be walking outside without all of the kids. So we are closed, but our phones are open. So our office staff is here daily, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. most days, and 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I recommend if you need anything, please give us a call. We will not be able to allow you access to the campus. If there's something that you need to drop off or pick up though, you are welcome to come to the front door and call the front office from the front door, and we will do our very best to assist you with whatever you need. We do have some changes in staffing this year. So many of you know that Mrs. Merritt has moved from first grade to fourth grade. Miss Mercado is taking a year leave of absence with her new baby and her toddler. And in first grade, we have Miss Perez, who is joining our first grade team for this year. And then Maestra Barrera is joining us in Spanish. So we'll get into the details about what a lot of that looks like with Spanish and such later on. The other new thing is that there are many unknowns. I want to remind all of you that we are always learning together now more than ever. While we have spent a lot of time getting to know the tools of the trade and distance learning, we aren't experts yet. And so we really ask for your patience as we learn how to best serve our students and work with you as we go through distance learning. Let's see. What's not new? Lots of teaching and learning. So while we are learning new ways to teach and new ways to learn in our new virtual setting, the teaching and learning that you have come to know and value at Caleb does not change. Our school is still an inclusive practices school, which means that we strive to design learning experiences to meet the needs of every student, and we will continue doing that. That doesn't change with distance learning. We still have IB, our primary years program, with our focus on inquiry, action, and agency. We will be talking a little bit more about that later. A focus on social emotional learning and community building, knowing that our children are not able to engage with each other naturally in classrooms and on the playground and at lunch. We will definitely be working toward ensuring that they have those opportunities in a virtual setting to the best we can. Providing academic supports for children who need them. That could be for students with IEPs or 504 plans, students who have had student study teams or just need a little extra support in the classroom. That also is us meeting the needs of our gifted and talented students and our high achievers who need to have interesting enrichment opportunities as we go through the ELA and math standards this year. A continued focus on culturally responsive teaching and anti-racist teaching practices. You heard me talk quite a bit about this at the end of last school year. That focus has not gone away as we prepare for distance learning. We do have an equity group that will be looking at how we do this most effectively across our campus, but we are also really focused on ensuring that our teaching is culturally responsive and that we are affirming student identities through our teaching and learning practices. Open communication with teachers, staff, and me. We are here. We are open to talking with you and supporting you, so we always want you to reach out to us. And then lastly, our staff remains committed. Our community has been incredibly generous as we have gone through this distance learning and closure situation and really helped each other out. And then of course the resilience of our children, who I saw many of them today as I was distributing Chromebooks, and there's lots of smiles and excitement for the first day of school, even though it's going to look a little different than it has before. Just a reminder that no matter what, we are still focused on improving, on continuous improvement, regardless of if we are learning from a distance or not. I'm not going to go in depth on our school goals, but I just want to remind you that our staff is focused on these. So improving our math outcomes, improving our language arts outcomes, and maintaining the positive culture and climate that we all appreciate and value at Caleb. So just an overview of what you can expect from distance learning. This is district-wide, but we'll talk about Caleb specifically today. So Google Classroom is our learning management platform. So by now, most of you have heard from your classroom teachers. If you haven't, it's because we have a communication gap of some sort, and we're trying to reach out to you, but we haven't been able to reach you. So you should be getting invitations to Google Classroom. There are all kinds of ways that you can learn how to operate this. We'll be loading some resources onto our website that will help you navigate Google Classroom if you're unfamiliar with it. Anything that's blue is linked in here. So when I upload this to the website, you can log on to this or click on any of the links. Clever is a great resource for all of our students. It's how they get into all of the platforms that we use. So while Google Classroom is our management platform, there are other platforms that we need in order to be able to provide instruction. So that might be our benchmark curriculum or our Envision curriculum. Those both have their own online platforms. We are going to be using Math IXL and ELA IXL. So you'll see through Clever that you can access all of those. A lot of you are calling because you don't know your username or you forgot your child's password. That is not a problem. Please don't panic. There is a very, very easy way to reset it yourself. And if that doesn't work, you can email your teacher and they can very easily reset it for you. So you'll have access to that as well. You will be getting grade level weekly learning plans that will describe what your student is expected to do for the entire week for the grade level. I will show you some examples of what that's going to look like. We will also have synchronous daily instruction for all students. It's going to be recorded for flexible viewing and reviewing as needed. That has a little asterisk next to it, which is that that's not completely finalized about the recording, but we will have synchronous daily instruction. And for students who are not able to engage in that synchronous daily instruction, the lessons will either be recorded or we will provide you with another alternative to be able to access the instruction. So our priority here is that every student participates in that synchronous daily instruction with their teachers. That means that students and teachers are in virtual space together. So they're both on Zoom and they're learning together with their classmates, with their teacher. We will also have targeted small group instruction based on assessed need, which I will circle back to in a little bit. Students will also have asynchronous daily learning in language arts and math, which is when they're working independently, where they are not in the same space on the digital space as their teachers. So they'll have assignments to work on as well. Asynchronous IB through inquiry and enrichment. So all of our IB work this year and at least while we're in distance learning, Spanish, music, art is all going to be provided in an asynchronous manner so that you can engage with that in a more flexible way. This is an example of a weekly learning plan. It's not filled out yet, but it shows you what you can expect. So every grade level is creating these together. So you'll have a similar, the same learning plan for the week for each grade level. It'll have everything you need to know for the week in it. So you will have your Zoom information, what the assignments are, what the learning intentions are. You'll be able to, so where it says this week I am, that's what your child is supposed to be working on. So all of the assignments in there are going to be related to the learning intentions. And then at the end of the week or at the end of the day, the success criteria I can tells you what your student should be able to do by the time they've completed their engagement in that learning opportunity. So you'll have, this is the example with language arts. You'll also have math contained in this weekly learning plan, and you will also have IB opportunities contained in this learning plan. So that's inquiry, enrichment through Spanish, music, and art. Ms. Cordero is leading the charge on IB, so we have a lot of fun things happening there, which I will get back to in a bit. This learning plan will also have a daily Zoom schedule so that you'll be able to see very easily when your child should be logged in for synchronous learning, and then a daily assignment checklist so you'll know what they should be completing each and every day. So I know that everybody is anxiously awaiting a weekly schedule. So I do not have that to share with you today. That is still being negotiated with our labor partner. So we will be providing more information about that as soon as we possibly can. I know that it's really stressful to try to figure out what Thursday is going to look like, and for that matter, the rest of the weeks and the months ahead without having that schedule. So what I'm recommending for right now is that you plan to have your child engaged in learning opportunities for the duration of our standard school day. So 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. That does not mean that they are on Zoom for 6 hours straight. That means that you will have synchronous learning opportunities, most likely in the morning, where they need to be on Zoom and engaged with their teacher and their classmates, but that they will also have opportunities to engage in asynchronous learning through the end of the school day. So roughly imagine that your child will be engaged for about that amount of time every day. That includes synchronous time It includes time with classmates, small group instruction, asynchronous learning assignment, and lots of breaks and community building. So I really encourage all of you to make that synchronous learning a priority for your kids, because it's when they are not only going to get access to their teacher and that direct instruction from their teacher, but also opportunities to engage with their peers, which is a very valuable piece of their learning. Let's see. Student distance learning agreement. So just some information for you to be considering as we start getting ready for coming back together on Thursday and in the coming weeks. So we expect that all students will participate in both synchronous and asynchronous learning opportunities. If your child isn't able to participate, we ask that you communicate with their teacher so that we can problem solve with you if there's an issue. So sometimes our kids aren't feeling comfortable yet in that setting, or you might have a scheduling issue that makes it really difficult for you to help your child participate in that synchronous learning opportunity every day. We want to know about that and we want to help you. So instead of just thinking that it's, you know, not going to work, we really ask you to think of us as partners in this. We really want to help figure out how to get all of our students engaged in both that synchronous and asynchronous learning. Students and family created learning pods. So a number of you reached out to me to say that you had created learning pods with other families in order to maximize the supervision and the childcare and all of that. I fully understand the value of that and know that it's critical for a lot of you in order to be able to engage in distance learning to the extent that we need to in order to move our kids forward. So that's great, but we really need those children to be on separate computers for synchronous learning so that they can give individual responses, they can participate in breakout rooms for collaboration. So part of that synchronous learning, it's not just about watching Zoom, it's about being able to engage with Zoom. So our teachers are all working really hard to create interactive learning opportunities in this synchronous setting. And so when students are sharing a computer, the teacher can't gather the information from the individual student. So it's really important that they're on individual computers so that we can really understand what they're learning and get some feedback from them. Please begin your daily Zoom sessions with your video on, your audio muted, and the correct name on the account. This is really important for security and gathering attendance. If we can't see who is on the other side of that Zoom, it doesn't create safety and security for all of the others on that Zoom. So please start with the video on, audio muted, and if your teacher, you can have a conversation with your teacher about that video, but the expectation is that students start with it on. If Zoom goes down, school is not over for the day. So it's gonna happen. We know it's gonna happen. One day we're gonna all try to log on to Zoom and we're gonna have a hard time getting on, or we're all going to be on and one class will go down. That doesn't mean that school is over for the day. That means that we need to regroup and come up with a new plan. So if Zoom goes down and you cannot get back on, please stand by and await further email instructions from your teacher about what we're gonna do instead to make sure that everyone keeps learning. Okay. If for some reason inappropriate content or a stranger appears in a Zoom session, our teachers will automatically end the session and then restart it. So they will then carefully monitor the waiting room and students are expected to log back on immediately. So if you see something inappropriate or a stranger appears, get out, log back on, and we'll try again. So the foundation of what we are going to be teaching this year are the essential standards in language arts and math. Our district academic office has worked to create ELA and math scope and sequence documents that help us, that are guiding our focus on what we really need to focus on when it comes to providing instruction in language arts and math. Those are available on the district website. I will link them here. I just realized that they aren't linked here, so I will link them here. But the focus is really on making sure that we are teaching those essential standards and that our kids are learning them. So the focus is on depth of instruction rather than pacing. So you'll see that we'll be going at a slower pace than we might during the school year, but that we'll be going more in depth on those specific standards. High quality instruction, distance learning or not, that's always a priority. We will be using the benchmark ELA curriculum and the Envision math curriculum. So some of you we have always supplemented our math and language arts curriculum. We will continue to do some of that, but you'll see that the main focus is on using that curriculum because they both have fantastic digital tools available that will allow us to engage with your students to a greater degree. We will, excuse me, another focus is to identify unfinished learning and gaps through instruction and an assessment, and then adjust supports based on student need. So last year, there were a lot of questions because in the spring, in the midst of our crisis teaching, it wasn't our best teaching and it wasn't our best learning. And so there were a lot of questions about how are we going to address the unfinished learning and standards that perhaps were not addressed at the end of the school year last year. So the focus this year is on grade level content and rigor. And so we will be focusing on, if your child is in second grade, we are focusing on second grade standards, third grade standards, etc. So this idea is that we're focusing on just-in-time supports. So as we teach those grade level standards and we get formative feedback about what our children are learning, we can provide just-in-time supports to fill those gaps of unfinished learning, as opposed to just-in-case teaching, which would be us going back and teaching standards from the previous year, just in case they need them. And so as you all probably know, these standards build on each other and there is a lot of cohesion between each grade level. And so when we start with second grade standards, it doesn't mean that we're skipping all over the first grade standards. It means that we're building on them. And so we will absolutely be addressing unfinished learning throughout the school year. And I will share with you how we are going to do that in a few minutes. IB and enrichment, this is going to be different than it usually is. We really wanted to be able to focus on those ELA essential standard and math essential standards and be able to continue to focus on the primary years program, particularly inquiry, action, agency, enrichment, all of the things that contribute to making our school such an incredible place for children to learn. So instead of having our grade level teams continue this year, this is just for 1 year, instead of having them teach their individual grade level units separately, Ms. Cordero, our incredible IB coordinator, is developing site-wide IB units. So the whole school will be focused, for example, the first 6 weeks or so on who we are. And she will be providing enrichment opportunities, inquiry opportunities, ways for children to take action and think about agency. And we are going to be connecting all of our enrichment through that. So Spanish, music, and art will all be delivered as part of this IB PYP school-wide unit focus. So Ms. Cordero will be providing one asynchronous IB lesson for each grade level each week that will be tailored to the grade level. I think somebody needs to put themselves on mute, please, if you're not.
I'm going to the Netherlands.
And then could one of my co-hosts double check and make sure that everybody's on mute? So
no, that's us.
Now you're unmuted.
Yeah, Erin, now you're on mute, so we can't hear you.
great. Okay, now I'm back. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll back up a little bit to IB and enrichment. So school-wide IB PYP units, Ms. Cordero will be providing one asynchronous learning opportunity based on that grade level's ELA and literacy standards, so connected to that. We will also be, Maestra Barrera, our new Spanish teacher, will be doing 3 asynchronous Spanish lessons per week. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, those will be posted on your weekly learning plan, and they are going to cover a variety of things: language, culture, ethnic studies, and they will all be asynchronous so that you can engage in them flexibly. And we will have 1 music lesson per week and 1 art lesson per week that will also be on the weekly learning plan. Ms. Cordero and our enrichment staff are also looking for ways that they can do live events with students to be able to have them collaborate and dig in deeper to our IB themes. So stay tuned for those. All of this is found in your weekly learning plan. Small group instruction. So as I talked about before, we know that there is unfinished learning and there are learning gaps that were existing before the closure and some that were possibly created or exacerbated because of the closure and distance learning in the spring. So our intent is to identify those gaps as we provide grade level instruction. And that's something that we do all the time anyway. This isn't a new strategy that we're using because of distance learning. As educators, we are well trained in collecting formative assessment feedback so that we can figure out what our students need. So we will continue doing that. In distance learning, this will result in synchronous targeted small group instruction. So that means that in addition to whole class Zooms that may also have some breakout rooms and things of that nature for students to collaborate, we will also be providing targeted small group synchronous learning that is purely based on student needs. So this will be scheduled into every teacher's weekly learning plan, but it will be flexible groupings based on student needs. So some students might end up participating in targeted small group instruction several times per week, while others may not need to participate in it at all because they are meeting those grade level standards. So we will be constantly monitoring how our students are doing in order to be able to provide them with small group instruction to fill those learning gaps. If your child is not assigned to a targeted small group instruction lesson, they will always have asynchronous learning assignments that are tied to language arts and math. So, and in many cases, those synchronous assignments will provide the basis for some of that targeted small group instruction so that we can just provide some additional scaffolding there. Oh, assessments. A note about assessments. I put this in here because I think it's really important that we all have a common understanding about what assessments are for. So they are information that tell teachers what and how to teach their students. And so we don't view assessments as a measure of a child's intelligence or as a reflection of our parenting or any of that. They are purely information. And so when we provide an assessment, we need it to be done independently so that we know what our students are able to do. And so I want to be really thoughtful about this with our teachers and with all of you, that if we help students during assessments at home or at school, it doesn't give us accurate information about what they know and are able to do. So I know it can be really difficult to be in the background while your child is taking an assessment, and it's hard not to help. I'm a parent too. I know, I've been here, I was here all spring. But we have to be able to back off and let them show our teachers what they know so that we can figure out what to teach them. And my biggest concern, and why I'm telling all of you this specifically tonight, is that that information is going to be in some cases tied directly to targeted small group instruction. So we will be gathering information about how students are doing all the time. Assessment is one piece of that, but it's really critical that we allow them to do these on their own so that they provide us with the accurate information we need so that we can identify and provide additional support when and where it's needed. Feedback and grading. Our teachers will be collecting work, gathering that information about how our students are doing. Students are expected to submit all digital assignments via Google Classroom or an assigned digital platform. So your teacher might say, do this assignment on the benchmark curriculum, or do Math IXL, or do this math assignment on the Envision website. That'll all be connected through Clever and through Google Classroom. But that is the only way that we want assignments submitted to teachers. One of the things that happened during our crisis learning in the spring was that teachers were getting emails and texts at all times of the day and night with assignments, and then they'd have to figure out how to link them to the assignment that they made on Google Classroom. So it's really critical that you learn how to attach assignments in Google Classroom. And if you know how to attach an assignment in an email, you can do it in Google Classroom. We will make sure that there are tutorials around so that you know how to do that. And your children really know how to do that for the most part, except, you know, our newest kiddos. So teachers will be providing specific actionable feedback on student work. They might do this in a written manner. They might do this in a verbal manner. They might do it during synchronous learning or small group instruction in a variety of ways. So we really need those assignments submitted when they are due so that your teachers can provide feedback. And feedback is one of the most important ways we learn is by getting that feedback that tells us what we need to do next. So that's the intent with the feedback that you'll be receiving, that your child will be receiving. Teachers are going to report student progress regularly, and parents can check assignment completion and feedback via Google Classroom and Infinite Campus. So if you haven't set those up yet, if you don't have the apps, and if you don't have your usernames and passwords, there are some resources available on our website about how to get to those. And if you do that and you still can't figure it out, please email us and we will help track it down for you. Just a note that in the spring, we had the held harmless policy, which meant that students would not receive a grade lower than what they received as of March 13th when we went to crisis learning, distance learning. That does not apply for elementary schools. So this year, any grades that they earn through completed work, participation, assessments, all of that are going to accurately reflect this year's progress instead of it being what they were earning at the end of last year. Teachers will take daily attendance just as they would in a normal school year. Last year, this was a little confusing for all of us as we were trying to navigate what it meant to be in distance learning. So the only difference in this is that instead of marking attendance by 8:30 a.m. daily, teachers will have 24 hours to submit attendance. So that means that students who engage in synchronous learning either directly with their teacher or submit asynchronous assignments via Google Classroom can be marked present. We still really encourage that engagement in synchronous learning because that's where the bulk of the direct instruction and engagement with peers is going to happen. But you will be marked present if either one of these things is true. If your child is unable to participate in distance learning due to an illness or other personal need, you report your absences in the same exact way you do during the school year. So if something comes up and your child is sick and unable to participate in distance learning that day, you still need to report them as absent. Couple notes about some of our academic supports. I know there's a lot of questions out there about these needs. Our classroom teachers and special education case managers are already busy at work figuring out how we are going to provide services and accommodations and modifications to our students with IEPs. So they will be reaching out to parents of students with IEPs, those who have IEPs in progress, to talk about what that looks like. The issue with initial assessments, so I know there are some families out there who are waiting for assessments or who have requested them. They are not validated for in-person yet. So we're still working on that process in terms of the testing piece. But as far as services, modifications, and accommodations are concerned, we will be providing those in the distance learning setting just as we would if we were in school together. Same with 504 plans. If your child has a 504 plan, those accommodations remain in place and we will be providing them through distance learning to the extent that they are applicable. Same with SSTs. If your child has been if you have had your child participating in a student study team process and they have interventions in place, those will remain in place to the extent that they're applicable in distance learning. As far as GATE is concerned, teachers, just like they always have, will continue to design and differentiate learning that meets the needs of our gifted and talented students as well as our high achieving students. So this is part of what we do as an inclusion school. We really focus on designing learning experiences that meet the needs of all of our students. So whether your child has an IEP, a 504, an SST, GATE, somewhere in the middle, our teachers are working hard to design those learning experiences to meet every child's need. Okay, helping your child. I know that a lot of you are, I'm sure, have been reading and talking and thinking about what am I going to do to help my child and help this be a successful year for them and for our family. So tomorrow night is the teacher back to school nights. So please, please, please do not miss those. The teachers are holding them at 5:30 and 6:30. They've already communicated when they are having them, the Zoom information. If for some reason you do not have that information from your teacher, please feel free to send me an email and I will make sure to connect you with your teacher so that you can participate in that back to school night. They are holding two each, one at 5:30 and one at 6:30, so you're able to attend for those of you who have multiple children in our school, and they will also record one of them so that if you are not able to attend, you will still be able to get that information. Routines. Kids like them, they're good for kids. If your house is like mine, we've gotten very out of routine between distance learning in the spring and summer right now. So please, if you haven't already done so, now is the time to start focusing on that bedtime, getting up in the morning, eating breakfast, getting dressed. We will go back to school in person at some point, and having a morning routine, even for distance learning, is going to help that transition when it happens. So I really encourage you, get up, maybe you walk the dog in the morning, maybe you get up and read, whatever they do in the morning, first thing, start doing that before school. Have breakfast, set an alarm, do all of those things you do in the morning before school on a regular basis so that you can get used to it. When we start distance learning, we're going to want our kids ready to go when our day starts. So it's a good time to start practicing that now. Getting up is not going to be easy, but it needs to happen. Boundaries are good for everyone. We spent a lot of time in the spring talking as a staff about how we felt like we lost all of our boundaries when it came to work and our personal lives. It felt like we were constantly working. And I just want to remind all of you that it's really important that you have set routines so that you know when to turn things off. So just because we're in distance learning doesn't mean we have to be connected to our Google Classrooms and to our phones and to our Chromebooks all the time. So really being mindful of those boundaries that you have as a family. And I'm also going to ask you to please be mindful of them when it comes to our teachers as well. They are working incredibly hard to provide your kids with quality learning opportunities during distance learning, but they also need time to be able to relax and have a personal life as well, take care of their families. And so they will be telling you when they have office hours, and that's when they're available to answer questions for you. So we're really trying to recognize and respect everyone's boundaries through this interesting time. Make sure you get the Google Classroom and Infinite Campus apps. That will help you be able to stay abreast of everything that's happening for your child's education. Visit the virtual calming room for Sac City. I think I put a few pictures of it up here. So the virtual calming room is a fantastic resource when it comes to taking care of ourselves and our kids. There are all kinds. My favorite is the live animal cameras. My kids love to watch those, but there's coloring, there's all kinds of exercise opportunities, all sorts of different things to be able to get your body moving, use your brain in a different way. Anytime your child is feeling a little off or having a hard time with distance learning or the pandemic or anything that's going on in the world, the virtual calming room is a really great resource to go to and just explore some of the resources there. There's also a support section that has a number of resources in case you need those. So please, please take advantage of the virtual calming room. The district has also released a new distance learning resources page. I really encourage you to visit that. There are all kinds of, there's parent webinars that help give you information about Google Classroom and how to use Zoom and all of those things, free internet and Wi-Fi resources, tech support, which I know is really important right now, lots of different things to help ease this distance learning burden. Also, as far as Caleb is concerned, we are adding information to our website almost every day. So be sure to visit it, bookmark it, check it frequently. I will be sending weekly email blasts and video messages, so be sure you've signed up for our email blast on our website, and we have a distance learning resources tab on our website now, so please make sure that you visit those as well. Staying informed. School meals, just a reminder that these are available and we want everybody to be taking advantage of them. Meals are free to all children under 18, regardless of school enrollment. They don't even need to be enrolled in Sac City. There's no paperwork, there's no enrollment necessary. Children do not need to be present to pick up meals. You can drive by the school, pop your trunk, say, I need meals for 3 kids, and they will put it in, shut your trunk, and you are off with your meals. So please take advantage of that. They're available Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 11 a.m. to 12:30. With the exception of Thursday, since it's the first day of school, they will also serve meals on Thursday. Closest to us are Kit Carson, Tahoe Elementary, and Hiram Johnson, but there's some more information on the website if you need it. Okay. Lastly, we are here to help you. I said it earlier, our campus is closed, but our phones are open, our email is open. We want to be your partners in this. So we have lots of parents who are reaching out to teachers, to our front office to get help trying to get logged in, to find out when we're doing materials distribution, all kinds of things like that. So please give us a call if you need anything. If you are feeling anxious about distance learning and you're having scheduling issues and you need to talk through that with your child or me, you are always welcome to reach out. So please, please give us a call. We want to help you. We miss having you all on campus, so we're very open to being able to help support you in your home. So feel free to call the front office. You can email me or call me, and then our staff roster and email addresses are connected on this presentation as well. Last little bit. Next, or not next Wednesday, in a couple weeks, we have a Chipotle night fundraiser. We'll be sending out information about this, so mark your calendars. You'll need to take a flyer with you or use the little code when you order online, so that's coming up as well. Materials distribution is next week, September 8th and 9th. Please check our website for more information about that. And I think that concludes our back to school night for tonight. So I know that was a lot of information. Thank you all for bearing with me. I will post the recording online as well as the presentation so that you can access all of the resources. I hope that you all have a great night. We will be in touch as soon as we have information about our schedules starting on Thursday, and we can't wait to see you all then. Thank you. Have a great night.
Bye.